Will your house catch fire this year? If you live in one of these 10 places, you have a much higher chance of that happening. Welcome to wildfire country, where fire season isn't just a season, it's a constant threat. As of January 2025, 485 U.S. counties are flagged with very high wildfire risk. And thanks to urban sprawl pushing into flammable wildlands, many cities are basically tinderboxes with mortgages. I mean, we all saw what happened in Los Angeles in January of this year, 2025. Today we look at places in the U.S. that, according to FEMA, are at the greatest risk of catching fire each year. Number 10, Idaho County, Idaho. Idaho County isn't just large, it's enormous. We're talking the biggest county in the entire state, stretching over 8,000 square miles of rugged mountains, dense forests, and remote wilderness, where cell service is a myth and paved roads are considered optional. This place is basically a tinderbox wearing a camouflage jacket. With thick layers of pine, dry brush, and vast tracts of unmanaged public land, Idaho County is what fire ecologists politely call high risk, and what the rest of us call one spark away from panic. Lightning storms, they don't just light up the sky at night, they light up the hillsides. And when a fire kicks off at those hillsides, good luck getting to it. The terrain here is brutal, access roads are few, and firefighting efforts often rely on aircraft because the boots on the ground option involves hiking into Mordor. I'll take random Lord of the Ring references for 200, Alex. Add in scattered population that spreads out across tiny mountain towns, off-grid cabins, and evacuation becomes a logistical nightmare. Fires here don't just threaten homes, they cut off entire communities, block escape routes, and stretch local resources to the limits. Idaho County might be beautiful, wild, and rugged, but when it comes to fire, it also is terrifyingly flammable. Now, I'm also going to give you how many structures are at risk. That's just something I found interesting. But seeing that this one's not that populated, it doesn't have a lot of structures. But currently, structures at risk would cost $1.9 billion to replace. Number 9, Elmore, Idaho. Welcome to Elmore County, Idaho, where the sunsets are gorgeous, the air is clean, and the fire danger is constantly set on, oh no. This place is the definition of wild and rugged, with sprawling national forests, dry grasslands, and backcountry roads that seem custom built for wildfire chaos. It's the kind of terrain firefighters have nightmares about, mountainous, hard access, and packed with fuel just waiting for a spark. And while Elmore isn't densely populated, that doesn't mean it's off the hook. Fires here don't just burn, they race up hillsides. Fueled by high winds, dry summer conditions, and miles of uninterrupted vegetation, even a small spark can turn it into a multi-thousand acre inferno in no time. Towns like Mountain Home may sound peaceful, but during fire season, they live under the constant haze of smoke and worry. Elmore might look like a postcard, but it comes with a disclaimer. Scenic views may be temporarily obscured by flames. Elmore County, Idaho's structures at risk would be $2.98 billion worth. Number 8, Madera County, California. Madera County doesn't get as much national press as its SoCal cousins, but it's just as crispy, maybe even crispier, because no one's paying attention until half the state is glowing orange. Just north of Fresno and brushing up against the Sierra Nevada foothills, Madera is the kind of place that looks peaceful from a distance. Golden hills, thick forests, and charming rural towns. But zoom in a little and you'll see acres of bone-dry vegetation, triple-digit temperatures, and neighborhoods creeping deeper into what used to be wildlands. This county is basically a slow-cooking wildfire casserole. Years of drought have turned the landscape into one giant spark trap. With climate change dialing up heat every single summer, it's like someone turned the oven on broil and then just left it. On top of that, suburban sprawl is pushing deeper into the brush-covered terrain, where one poorly maintained power line or lightning strike can spell disaster. And let's be honest, rural firefighting resources aren't exactly equipped for Hollywood-style infernos. So when fire season rolls around, Madera doesn't just brace for impact, it hopes it doesn't end up on the evening news next to the words catastrophic. Structures currently at risk, $21.9 billion. Number 7, Coconino, Arizona. Welcome to northern Arizona, where the scenery is majestic, the air is crisp, and the wildfires are just a strong breeze away from your backyard. Coconino County is home to Flagstaff, towering ponderosa pines, and enough kindling to make Smokey the Bear sweat bullets. This place is just one lightning strike away from becoming a doomsday documentary. Now, don't get me wrong, the place is beautiful. Actually, Flagstaff is one of the most beautiful cities I've seen. The forests are thick, the skies are clear, and the elevation makes you feel like you're living in a Colorado knockoff. But when you cram all that dry timber together and throw in a summer monsoon, you've basically built a fire starter kit the size of Delaware. So if you're planning to move here, bring hiking boots, your camera, and maybe a fire extinguisher the size of a water tower. Structures currently at risk, $25.23 billion worth. Number 6, Ventura, California. Ventura County, where surf meets flames and homeowners insurance meets premium hikes. This slice of coastal California has everything: ocean views, rolling hills, endless sunshine, and wildfire season that shows up like clockwork with all the subtlety of a wrecking ball. One minute you're sipping an overpriced glass of wine in Ojai, the next minute you're eyeing flames cresting the hill behind your yoga studio. Fires here don't mess around, thanks to steep terrain, dry vegetation, and the lovely Diablo winds. Flames don't just spread, they launch across highways like they're in a Fast and Furious reboot. The 101 freeway has basically become a reoccurring guest in California's fire coverage. Avocado groves, charred. Hillside homes, scorched. Air quality, somewhere between campfire chic and you should be wearing a gas mask. Now, Ventura doesn't grab the headlines like Los Angeles does when it catches fire. But remember the Thomas fire back in late 2017, early 2018? Yeah, that one was brutal. They lost just over 1,000 buildings, one firefighter, one civilian directly, and 21 civilians indirectly with, mudslides and debris, stuff like that. So yeah, it may look like paradise, but Ventura's beauty comes with a warning label. This view might be temporary. Currently, structures at risk is $133 billion. Number 5, Riverside, California. Yep, staying in California, 'cause that's where all the good fires are. Riverside, California just isn't a bad county to live in with crime and all that other stuff, but it could catch fire, and it often does. And some of the neighborhoods up in the hills, they're kind of dangerous. Just to let you know, many of these fire-prone neighborhoods only have a couple narrow roads in and out, which is great if you're a deer, but less ideal if the entire community is trying to flee walls of flame during rush hour. Emergency crews have a tough time reaching these hillside communities, and once the fire crests over the ridge, there's not much between it and your backyard except maybe a hedge trimmed by a landscaper named Todd. Meanwhile, local governments out this area are caught in a balancing act between keeping development booming and not letting the place burn down. The honest truth, though, it hasn't slowed down development in this area. Currently, the number on structures at risk is about $330.3 billion in Riverside County. Number 4, San Bernardino, California. San Bernardino County. This place is basically a fire corridor disguised as a county. If wildfires had a favorite express lane, this would be it. And it would be running straight through their canyons and foothills, setting San Bernardino afire almost every single year. We're talking about a region that has seen massive blazes over the years. The old fire in 2003 torched over 90,000 acres and hundreds of homes. The Blue Cut fire in 2016 shut down the I-15 and made national headlines. And the Apple Fire in 2020 reminded everyone that yes, this area still very much is a tinderbox. Those are the big ones. All those years in between, they've still had fires. San Bernardino is the perfect storm of fire-prone features, steep mountains, bone-dry vegetation, and those lovely Santa Ana winds that can turn a spark into a firestorm in minutes. And if you've never heard of Santa Ana winds, we called them Santana winds when I was a kid. It's a eastern breeze or wind storm that comes out of the desert just blowing hot air out into the ocean. It was always really nice. The air quality kind of sucked when those happened, but it's really nice getting that warm breeze, and the surf was always excellent when they were really going strong. The geography here practically funnels flames downhill into the populated areas. And yet, Somehow, developers keep slapping new homes along the hillsides. Now, you can't get rid of all the brush because during the rainy season, if there's not any brush on those hillsides, it turns into mudslides. They still have them, but it's much worse when there's no vegetation holding the soil in place. Currently, San Bernardino has $334.22 billion in structures at risk right now. Number 3, San Diego County, California. San Diego County, coming in third place of the Fire Olympics. A city that looks like paradise until you realize the hills are plotting against you. On the coast, it's all sunshine, fish tacos, and people arguing over the best beach. But venture in a few miles inland, and you'll hit neighborhoods built in what can only be described as nature's fire lanes. We're talking steep canyons filled with dry chaparral plants, eucalyptus trees that explode like firecrackers, and zero natural barriers once flames get rolling. San Diego has a long, ugly history with wildfires. The Cedar Fire in 2003 burned over 270,000 acres and remains one of the largest wildfires in the history of California. Then came the Witch Fire in 2007, which destroyed over 1,000 homes. And those weren't flukes, they were warnings. The county's layout is practically an instruction manual on how to turn wind and flame into a high-speed disaster. Just like Los Angeles, they get those Santa Ana winds and they just move the fires. Throw in a booming population, sprawling urban development, and the fact that many people don't seem to understand that defensible space doesn't mean putting plastic flamingos on your yard. Currently, San Diego County has $495.5 billion worth of structures at risk. Number 2, Orange County, California. Yes, just about everything I said about San Diego goes for Orange County too. They're right up the road from each other. We're working our way north. Orange County, where wildfires compete with luxury SUVs, Botox appointments, and HOA letters about your trash cans being 2 inches off alignment. On the surface, it's all palm trees, gated communities, and people pretending not to sweat in yoga pants. But scratch beneath the polished stucco exterior and you'll find one of the most fire-prone counties in all of California, and all of the country, really. This place is a classic example of fire meets suburbia. The Cleveland National Forest hugs the eastern side of the county, acting like a loaded gun pointing directly at the neighborhoods, with names like Canyon Crest Estates or Tranquil Hills. Spoiler alert, nothing tranquil when fire season kicks in. Those hills are packed with those chaparral plants, and those things haven't seen enough moisture in California since the last ice age. They've had a couple really good ones down there. Matter of fact, in 2007, the Santiago fire ripped through 28,000 acres and came dangerously close to major population centers. And as more homes get wedged into these high-risk areas, the danger only increases. So if you're living in Orange County and smell smoke, don't assume your neighbor is grilling. Check the news and pack your bags. Currently, Orange County, California has $526.4 billion worth of structures at risk. All right, before we get to number 1, if you're thinking about moving to any place in the United States, there is a link for a website called Home and Money in the description area below. They can get you in touch with a real estate agent anywhere in the country. They got a bunch of other tools on there to help you with your home buying process. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Los Angeles County, California. If you didn't see LA County coming on this one, you probably assume I forgot how fire works. With its dry hills and those relentless Santa Ana winds, throw in people building multi-million-dollar homes next to all those chaparral fields, and you've got the poster child for maybe this wasn't a great place to build a city. Seriously, who looked at the hillsides covered with bone-dry brush and said, yeah, let's put a multi-million-dollar mansion up there? When wildfires hit here, and they do often, it's like a full-blown media event. Helicopters swarm the skies, celebrities live stream their evacuation, and late-night hosts suddenly become, but it's not just Malibu that's at risk. Suburbs like Pacific Palisades, Topanga, and even parts of the valley are just as vulnerable. And as we all know, Pacific Palisades was, for the most part, wiped out during the last fire we had. Or they had. I always forget. I don't live there anymore. You get up in some of those areas like Pacific Palisades, Topanga, few other places, and it's one-lane roads that sometimes people have to pull over so another person can get by. That's the type of roads up there, and it makes it incredibly hard for people to evacuate and for fire trucks to get up there. when they had that Pacific Palisades thing, that's what they needed were the trucks, because the wind was so harsh the first couple days, helicopters and planes couldn't fly. That's one of the real problems, that fire just went out of control. You have winds just blowing the fire everywhere and not a plane or helicopter in the sky. It was just, they couldn't fly. It was incredible. You know, I honestly don't remember a summer or any year of my life living down there where the skies didn't turn orange from wildfires. And it's never going to end. $1 million homes are just burned to the ground every single year. During the Palisades fire, one of the fires they had going on in Los Angeles this last time around, I forget what person it was, what celebrity. It was one of the ones that's always part of a conspiracy theory, like Bill Gates or something. But all the houses around them were burned, but their house was untouched. And everyone's all, oh, that's proof this was set on purpose and all this other stuff. Everyone failed to mention that this house had a multi-million-dollar sprinkler system built on the roofs and around the property in case of a fire. I saw a thing on it. It's really incredible. It took the water out of the pool and just started throwing it around the house, the roof, and all the yards. But LA has fires every single year. In my opinion, I think if you're going to spend money on a multi-million-dollar home, spend another million or so getting some sprinklers on your roof. Because it's not a matter of if this will ever happen, it's just when. But with all the climate change stuff, overdevelopment, and a population that still insists on grilling outdoors during red flag warnings, LA becomes less of a city and more like a yearly cautionary tale. Currently, Los Angeles has $1.4 trillion worth of structures at risk as we speak. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, be nice to each other.